All right, good evening, everyone. We'll give it a minute for everyone to get into the webinar, and then we will begin. Okay. Okay. Good evening. My name is Michelle Blandino. I'm the Director of Admissions at Immaculata High School, and I want to thank you for joining us for our Marian Scholars mini session this evening. In just a minute, I'll be introducing Mrs. Nancy Bonham, who is the coordinator of one of the coordinators of the Marian Scholars program, as well as two students who are joining her tonight. But before we do that, I just want to go over a couple of quick things. We're certainly happy to answer your questions. We will do that at the end of Mrs. Bonham's presentation. So if you use the Q&A box for the webinar, please, put your questions in there. You don't have to wait till the end. If something pops into your mind, by all means, put it in there, and we will we'll answer that at the end of the webinar. And our goal is to be done by about 8:25 or so that those of you who are going on to the Chesterton Classical Studies mini session will have 5 minutes to stretch your legs and get away from the screen, and then we'll go to the Chesterton mini session at 8:30. So that's all from me. So I would like to introduce Mrs. Nancy Bonham.
Okay, thank you so much, Mrs. Blandino. Would you like me to share my screen or not yet? Okay, I am going to go ahead and do that. So I am Nancy Bonham. I'm one of the coordinators for the Marian Scholars program. I am co-coordinators with another teacher, Mrs. Rosinski, and she and I have been doing this program together. Now we're in our 7th year. And I'm going to go through a presentation that hopefully gives you a lot of insight into our program. But before I share my screen and my slides with you, two of our students are joining us tonight. They're both juniors who have been in the program since really the end of their 8th grade year. And they're going to start off by just saying a tiny bit about themselves, and they'll be available for questions at the end as well. So Krista, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Krista Holland. Like Mrs. Bonham said, I'm a junior and I'm currently taking AP Seminar. Previously in the Marian Scholar program, I have researched dietary prevention for dementia and U.S. law and government and its foundations. Something that I really love about the Marian Scholar program is the people. All of my best friends are actually Marian Scholars, and all of those people come together and create such an amazing environment. I'm never uncomfortable to speak or present or talk in front of them. It's a really good experience for me, and I'm really glad I chose to do it.
Awesome. Thank you, Krista. And our other student joining us tonight is Brendan Lenka. So Brendan, why don't you go ahead and say hello?
Hi, everyone. I am also a junior, and I've been in Marian Scholars since freshman year, like Mrs. Bonham said, and now I'm taking AP Seminar. And besides from Marian Scholars, I also like to play basketball and baseball for the school and outside the school. Also, Marian Scholar program, I feel, is really beneficial because for me specifically, it's helped me grow academically and as a person since my freshman year, with the moderators, the other students around me, and the program itself just really are beneficial to like growing coming into high school. And also you get to go on some cool trips. Like last year we got to go to New York to watch To Kill a Mockingbird on Broadway pre-COVID. So hopefully we can get back to that later.
Yes,
thank you.
We definitely hope we can do some more trips coming up. Okay, thank you guys. And Krista and Brendan will be around after the presentation as well. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and we'll go through the presentation. Okay, so the Marian Scholars program was developed about 8 years ago, actually, designed specifically for students who really need a little bit more rigor in their lives. They're so academically advanced that we wanted to give them an opportunity to really work with that interest that they have in studying lots more things, kind of a little bit different from what they're doing in their regular classroom. So what we say often, one of our phrases is that we ask them to pursue their passion. So we help them choose a topic that they're really interested in. And for freshman and sophomore year, it's a year-long project, and they work with a faculty mentor, and then they present whatever topic they've chosen, they present it at a symposium in the spring. I don't know if any of you have seen it, but we had to present our symposium online this year, and there's a YouTube link for that on the IHS website in case anyone's interested in seeing some of those presentations. And over here on the right are just a few of the previous students' topics that they've chosen. And some of these on this list are freshman topics all the way to senior year topics. So again, the 9th and the 10th graders work in addition to their regular classes. So they have to do their work outside of regular class. What we've changed over the years is that now they're in a homeroom together, which we have found to be really great because we see them and then we can either give them some instruction or show them a really cool article or help them understand things like how to cite their sources correctly, how to find really good sources. So, you know, the rigor here is that they have to work in addition to their regular schoolwork and homework. And the 9th graders do either a Prezi or a Google Slides presentation, about 6 minutes long, again, on a topic of their own choice. And the 10th graders have to do a professional poster board session. And later on in the slides, we usually have either every year or every other year, one of our alumni will come in and coach the students on how to create that and how professional poster boards are used at conferences all around the world, really, for people to share their research. The 11th and 12th graders go into an actual class. So it's part of the AP Capstone program, which began in 2012. We're currently in our 4th year of that program. So the juniors take AP Seminar as one of their classes, getting AP credit, and the seniors take AP Research. And one of the benefits to this is even though these classes are quite challenging, it's now one of their classes, so it's not in addition to. When students coming into Immaculata get their application packet in approximately December, qualified students will also get a letter in that packet that says, you know, you're invited to apply to this program. And then if the student is interested, he or she can fill in the application, and then we go through an interview process. And we'll communicate with the students, and we'll communicate with the students' teachers in their 8th grade school. And then we let people know before they have to make their final reply to Immaculata. We found that it's helpful for people to know if they're going to be in the program or not. And then understanding that not everybody is ready at the end of their 8th grade year, we have another application process at the end of the freshman year. So Mrs. Rosinski and I will speak to the freshman teachers and say, hey, is there somebody who you think would be a really good fit for this program? Is there someone who's just so eager and so excited to learn, and they would really benefit from being with us? And almost every year we take in anywhere from 1 to 4 new students, and then they'll come in as a sophomore. And that's another great way for the students to get involved. The course itself is based on a lot of what we've heard from colleges. So a lot of college representatives reached out to high schools and said, you know, we have some really amazing students, but what we're not seeing a ton of is the ability to research and write and present. So that's kind of the basis of our program. We wanted to make sure that the students were getting those skills, and we wanted them to understand how to consume information, how to find reputable and scholarly sources and digest them and look at things from different perspectives and have dialogues with each other and say, wow, I didn't see it that way. Can you explain to me why you see it like that? So that's really at the core of the program. And you can see this picture here. This is Allie, and this is during her final senior presentation. at our symposium in the spring. Another element of our program is to, position our students to be competitive for colleges, whichever college they're interested in, the competitive schools. And so we started out where the guidance department helps facilitate workshops and meetings where a representative from one of the colleges will come and meet specifically with the Marian Scholars and talk about the application process for a competitive college, what they could be doing. And we invite all the students, grades 9, even through 12, because especially the 9th and 10th graders need to understand what they could be doing in their earlier years to position themselves to be competitive and to be able to get into the schools that they really want to get into. These are just a few of the schools that we had visit last year. I believe these all were last year, maybe the year before as well. So here is a picture of our alumni. This is Dr. Imhauser. He works in New York City at the Hospital for Special Surgery. He's so incredible. He's a biomedical engineer, and he presents at professional conferences all around the world. And he talks to the students about his career, and he explains how he got his degree in mechanical engineering, but he really was interested in more than that. So then he went back and got further degrees, which enabled him to become a biomedical engineer. And you can't see it in this picture, but he's going through one of his presentations for research that they did on creating for knee replacement surgery. So he's such an amazing resource, and he's alumni, so he's really great with the students, and he's come back year after year. And this is just another example of one of the opportunities that we like to give to our students. Again, just to sort of broaden their mind, let them know what's happening out in the world of research and scholarly study. And as Brendan mentioned, we like to go on a lot of field trips. Broadening our students' mind is kind of, again, at the core of what we do. This was a trip we just took a couple of years ago to the Sourland hiking trails, and we had a naturalist lead the trip, and she talked a lot about identifying things in nature, but then we spent a little bit of time on the trip in silence, and she explained the Japanese process of forest bathing, which is basically just sort of letting the air within the forest kind of cleanse your spirit for the moment. And it was really great, and the kids loved it. And hopefully we'll get to do another one of those really soon. Another trip was to a fossil dig down by Rowan University. And the kids got to participate in that, and then hear some of the college professors speak about what it is to actually work as an archaeologist. Every year, this will be the first year in a long time, we go to the Shakespeare Theater at Drew University and see a play. This was the year we went to see Richard III, and they actually had an exhibit of the first folio. So in addition to the play, the students went on a tour of the museum to see the exhibit. That was really great. Also, several years we've gone to the Liberty Science Center and seen a live surgery, which is just incredible. And after the first 30 seconds, it's not so gross to look at anymore, and it's fascinating to watch. And the students get to interact and ask the surgeon questions. It's just really cool, even for the students who may not necessarily want to be a surgeon or a doctor, but these have been really great experiences. I think one of our favorite trips ever was to the Grounds for Sculpture. Mrs. Rosinski is actually an architect by training. And so she created a little bit of a scavenger hunt for us to go through and study the different sculptures. And on that trip, we also were able to visit Princeton University, where one of our graduates is a student, and he just talked to the scholars about what it means to go to Princeton, applying to more competitive schools, and his experience as an IHS graduate and also as a Princeton student. And as Brendan said, last year we went to see To Kill a Mockingbird, which was literally about 3 weeks before things started to shut down. Part of that trip was a tour in the New York City Library and another tour in St. Patrick's Cathedral. And that play was just really incredible. We had a great time that day. This is all the scholars, grades 9 through 12. And then finally, the thing that really makes us just so thrilled, couldn't be happier that our program is really sort of doing what we set out to do, which is that our students who are now in college reach out to us all the time. They're very cute. They like to email. And the majority of them will email and just say, hey, I'm doing great. I'm getting all A's in my classes. And then they'll let us know that the skills they've learned have just helped them so much in their college classes. And one of the girls said that in my class of 200 students, the professor knows me because I know how to conduct research. So we love that our students are out there feeling successful and confident and letting us know that they're doing great as they're moving past Immaculata. So at that point, this is the end of my presentation. And I think Mrs. Blandino is going to help us facilitate the questions and answers. And I can answer some and our students can answer some as well.
Yes, thank you, Mrs. Bonham. So now will be the time. If you have any questions at all about the Marian Scholars Program, please use the Q&A feature to ask your question, and we will answer them for you as best we can. So I'll give you a minute to maybe think of your questions and get those in that box. Okay, so the first question is the initial involvement as a freshman via invitation.
Yes. Mrs. Rosinski and Mrs. Blandino and I worked together to look at a lot of qualifications of the incoming 8th graders, what their grades are, what their teachers are saying, some test scores, a lot of different things. And then from there, we create a list and students will be invited to apply.
Okay, so thank you. So that actually the next question is along the same lines. What are you looking for? What are you looking at to decide to offer an invitation? So Mrs. Bonham, would you like to answer that one?
I mean, basically what I just said, the grades carry a lot of weight. The teacher's input carries a lot of weight. What we found over the years is that the highest grades are great, but it's really the students who are just really curious and love to kind of push themselves and learn more. And they're just so eager to like let us challenge them.
Okay. How many Marian Scholars are accepted for the incoming freshman class?
It's varied from year to year, but it's in the ballpark of 10. Sometimes more than that. One time it was a little bit less than that, but that's the range, anywhere from 10 to 15, depending on different factors.
Okay. And then what is the retention rate in the program?
It's pretty good. I don't know, Kristen and Brenda, we haven't scared you off yet, have we? Okay, they're shaking their heads no. Every now and then a student decides, you know, this is not for me, or they may decide, I really want to focus my efforts. We've had a student who said, I love campus ministry and I want to spend all my time there. And we said, okay, great, you know, go have a good time. So if a student says this isn't the fit for me, then obviously we would never force them to stay. So it's a pretty high retention rate. But if there are certain circumstances where if a student requests to leave, or if we feel that there are some concerns, we might speak with the student and see, you know, do you really want to keep doing this?
Okay. And is there a certain grade point average required to stay in the program?
There is, yes. And it varies. It's different from freshman year to sophomore year, and then the juniors and seniors, because the class weighting can be different. And it's not sort of, if you fall below by a tiny bit, it's not, okay, that's it, you're gone. I mean, we would be working with the students and say, hey, we're noticing you're struggling. Can we help you in some way? There's actually a pretty lengthy process where we would first reach out and say, do you need some help? Are you struggling? And then we would say, you know, these grades need to be checked, and we are putting you on warning, and we would give you some specific steps. So there's a lot of steps before a student would be asked to leave the program based on grades. It does not happen, almost never.
Okay, good, thank you. Is the GPA out of 4.0 or 5.0? We're on a 4.0 scale, correct? Yes.
Yeah, it's out of 4.0. Yep. So I think the required GPA for freshmen is 3.85. For juniors, it's 3.95, and for seniors, for sophomores is 3.95. Juniors and seniors is a 4.0. But again, as the students go up in grade level, they have more AP classes that are weighted differently. So that GPA is not too difficult to maintain. And the truth is, if it's not 100% at that level, but everything else is going great, we would not really, we wouldn't be alarmed by that.
Okay, good. Okay. Any other questions? Mrs. Bonham, okay. Can a student manage the Marian Scholar Program as well as the Chesterton program? Do they complement one another in your opinion?
So I'm going to answer that, and then I'm going to see if Krista and Brendan want to chime in about managing Marian Scholars with either music or sports. But yes, 100%. The Marian Scholar program is so aligned with the classical studies program because they're both about academic rigor and asking questions and investigating and discussing and really sort of working to the depths of understanding complex issues and topics. So they're 100% compatible. But Krista, why don't you talk first, and then Brendan. Krista, what's it like, because you're so involved, and the music, you're in the marching band and the play, and those are intense schedules as well. So could you talk about that a tiny bit?
Sure. So for marching band and play and most music things, it's after school. So for marching band and play, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and the occasional Saturday. And there's time between each one, like from school till practice, that you can do your homework and stuff. So it's not too terrible. For me personally, if there's any free time that I have and I'm really not doing anything and I have the motivation, then I actually will do some Marian Scholar work. I just think it's easier to do it like that. And then other times you do have to set aside time, like, all right, like I need to do my work for school now, and then I also need to do my work for Marian Scholar now. You do have to learn time management though. From middle school, I was like, oh, like all work is easy breezy. And then I got to high school and I was like, not so much. And I really had to learn, but it's doable.
Awesome. Thank you, Krista. Brendan, can you talk about managing it in addition to sports?
Yeah. So my time management has had to improve a lot because I wasn't that good at it when I came in. I'm still not very good, but I've definitely gotten better. But for sports, the practices are only maybe 2 hours each night, so you still have extra time to do your work, and especially get your schoolwork done each night. And then if you sprinkle in a little bit of your Marian Scholar work and your project, you don't have to do it all at one time. You can do a little bit each night, or like a little bit every week or something. And as long as you're doing it a little bit, you'll be able to have enough done by the time you need to have it done, where you'll have everything ready to go. You won't have to stress about it.
And they're underselling themselves. They're both great at time management skills. But okay, thank you guys.
Are there any other questions? If nothing else, oh, here we go, are either Kristen or Brenda involved in the classical program? Actually, no, they're not, because they're juniors, right?
Mm-hmm.
They are juniors. Yep. And so they just missed it by 1 year. Classical started actually last year. We're in our second year of the classical program. So they are not involved in it.
Right, but again, and I meant to say this, if people have more questions, my email is on the Immaculata website. I'd be happy to communicate via email. And what we've done in the past is we've connected families with the students who are Marian Scholars and in the classical studies program, and they've been able to communicate with the students. I'll facilitate some emails, or Mr. Signorelli, who's in charge of the classical studies program. So if a student wants a perspective from one of our current students who's in both programs, we can facilitate that.
Absolutely. Okay. All right. Well, we will end the session here. If you have any other questions, something pops in your mind between now and whenever, either Mrs. Bonham or myself, you can email and we'll get those answers for you. So we're going to end this session here. And for those of you joining us for classical studies, we'll get that one underway in about 5 minutes. Okay, so thank you for joining us tonight. And we hope you enjoyed the presentation. Have a great night.
Thank you. Good night.